Now let's have questions, and let's try to ask one question per person until everyone's had a chance. So who would like to start?
I would like to start. You said that microbiome can be considered like a different organ.
Yeah.
And there have been a lot of research on connection between microbiome and some diseases, right?
Uh-huh.
So do you know anything about that and autism?
Yeah, about autism, it's like it could be caused by bacteria. So I try to tell you the story.
Yeah.
So that bacteria kind of fights in the gut to have its own space. So it fights with other bacteria, and to kill other bacteria, it produces phenols. So phenols is a kind of chemical compound. I think it's close to alcohol, and so that bacteria produces phenols to get its own space. And of course, it's poisonous for the human body as well as for bacteria. And to counter that, to counter those phenols, the human body uses sulfur, right? And sulfur is also very important for the brain, for its development and well functioning. So the idea is that bacteria would produce too much phenols, and we will use the sulfur to counter that, and then we wouldn't have the sulfur for the brain to make it work or to develop. So that would be the link between autism. And that would be in the early stage of brain development, I guess. You cannot get autism on the factor.
Yeah.
Okay. More questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
We were talking about our organism has to rest, to gain some like a power. It's like this, like a general accepted opinion. Because you said there are some other theories about that. What are the other theories?
The theory of sleep. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, the immune system one is one theory. Then there's many of them. We still don't know why we sleep. People say it might just should know that, but I cannot forget them. Can I get back to you?
Okay.
Other questions? I'd like to ask one. This is actually coming from somebody who could not make it tonight. Might there be an effect from the microorganisms or any microorganisms on what people look like? Skin color, noses, eyes, etc.
Well, it was about the fluctuating asymmetry, right? Like.
Yeah, but I mean, not necessarily asymmetry, but just basically on what we look like shapes of noses, not necessarily symmetrical symmetry of noses, but shapes of body parts, outward appearance kind of things.
Well, yeah.
Besides asymmetry.
If you catch the
leprosy.
Yeah, of course it changes your appearance. Right?
But nothing about eye color or skin color, hair color.
No, I haven't heard of that. I know the way you smell can change with parasitic diseases. Like when you carry the plasmodium, the protozoa responsible for malaria, actually your body odor changes, and people thought it was to attract other mosquitoes. See what I mean? So that they can transmit the vector. But no about eye colors.
Okay, thank you. Other questions?
I have also one. So like bacteria are more active during when there's like when it's warm rather than when it's cold, right?
Yeah.
So why we got cold during the winter, but more often than during the summer?
When we catch cold?
Yeah.
That's because we use a lot of energy to maintain our body temperature, right? Hot, because it's cold, right? And so you have less energy for the immune system, so it's easier to catch.
I'd like to know more about the link between schizophrenia and viruses.
Where was it? Yes, somatic diseases, right? Well, I don't know that much about it, but it's either during the development or soon after birth, right? If you're in contact and people found out it's the herpes simplex virus 2, it can cause schizophrenia. And why schizophrenia specifically? Might be a similar mechanism than autism, like your body uses some resource to fight that virus, and so it does, because it fights that virus, you lack a resource to develop your brain or something like that. Maybe the same story than autism.
Is that the only virus that it could be connected to?
To
Just that one
schizophrenia?
Mm-hmm.
No, I think
But they're not saying necessarily that all schizophrenia is caused by just one
I mean,
thing.
It's more
They're
like
saying this could be one of the causes.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
thanks.
it's still a growing field, so don't know. We're still investigating that every day.
Other questions?
I have one question. You said that people from different areas on the Earth have different bacteria.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what happens when people move? Like, for example, we move here in Taiwan and from different areas. So what happened to our bacteria?
Well, you heard of the
Did it change or?
tourist star? Heard of that? That's basically what happened. Like maybe you don't have the bacteria to process the food you eat, so you might have like stomach ache and stuff. But because it's really easy to get bacteria, right? You have them with the food you have here. You know? So I guess you have adaptation time, and then you just like But yeah, that's basically the tourist style. Like when you go in countries, usually you have diarrhea, don't feel good.
But then why usually happens like people from cold countries when they go to warm countries to have diseases from the food, but not the opposite?
Yeah, that might be because there's much more parasites and viruses in hot countries, you know. So it's much easier
They're not
to
used
catch
to it.
them. Yeah, we are not used to it. Whereas in Europe, there's less parasites and it's more hygienic as well, usually.
I have another question on the same gut bacteria. Are there studies on how bacteria in the gut affect what we eat, or have they found it's the other way around, that what we eat affects the gut and our bacteria?
Well, it's both.
It's both.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how the bacteria in our gut might affect what we eat?
It wouldn't affect what you eat. I mean, you eat what you want, you know, but the way we process it will change. You know, like maybe some bacteria tend to store fat more than others, or they cause you to store more fat. You know, some bacteria just break down and gives you energy. It would be a mechanism like that.
So and that bacteria comes in from what we eat. So we choose to eat something, and then if we have that in our gut, it's doing more of this or more of that, depending on what we eat.
Yes.
Okay. And that could serve a function depending on the climate that we live in, or generally the food that we eat.
Well, it's both. Yeah, it's both. I mean, it'd be more the food, I guess, but everything's kind of interconnected, right? I mean, people eat different food in different countries, depending on weather.
Okay. More questions?
I have a question. There's a big industry recently actually on probiotics. Like we have probiotics pills, powders, inhalers. Yeah, basically based on the assumption that some bacteria are beneficial, and if you have more of those, your immune system will be better. Like recently, like I have problems with my nose, and recently I found out there's actually an inhaler with probiotics. Apparently, that kind of microbiome can be damaged if you have some problems with sinuses, and that this can help replenish it. So a lot of stuff, and a lot of these guys say that antibiotics can kill the stomach lining, can damage the immune system, etc. So how much research is actually done on that? Is it just like a commercial trick, or it's actually useful? Because I tried one of those and I didn't really feel any change.
So by probiotics you mean something
Probiotic
that will
bacteria in powders and stuff. You can put them in milk and actually make a yogurt with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a problem with antibiotics. Maybe they're not specific enough, right? And maybe they destroy more bacteria than they should. Maybe they destroy the bad ones, but they also destroy a lot of good ones. So, yeah, probiotics, basically yogurts are probiotics, right? But Well, still undergoing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the yogurt lobby was like, yeah, you should eat yogurt since those studies, you know, like, oh, microbiome is good, yogurts were like, yeah, that's us.
Yeah.
There's bacteria in yogurts, eat more. But it's just yogurt.
More questions?
Have you heard of any studies on microorganisms on the lymphatic system?
On the lymphatic?
Yeah.
No, not during the work I did here.
Because the lymphatic system may have issues with metabolism. Because you know what we've kind of been talking about right now is basically in the gut with metabolism, but in terms of your lymphatic system, that will indicate the rate of how much or little you use it. So I was wondering if there might be any studies related to that.
There's probably some, but I didn't come across them. So.
More questions? Okay, I'll ask my third question. Is there a lot of study on what is a healthy versus unhealthy microbiome?
Yeah. It's been,
Can you talk about what constitutes a healthy microbiome and what constitutes an unhealthy one?
Yeah, a healthy microbiome would be a microbiome in which you can process all the food you get, you know, there is a microbiome that is in accordance with what you eat and with no bad bacteria, you know, no bacteria that infect you. So bad microbiome would be the opposite. So microbiome that is not in accordance with what you eat, so you cannot really process the food you eat. Then maybe some bacteria that cause you diseases.
So a healthy microbiome might come from a healthy diet, a clean and healthy diet.
Yeah, but you know, as I said,
but I mean, just inside for just the gut. I mean, you say the microbiome is all over the body, so.
Yeah, just in the gut. But most of the microbiome you pick is just when you're born, actually. You know? So it's kind of something you get it, and then you can you add more, sure. But most of it is when you just get born. So.
Is it possible to harm the microbiome with diet?
Yeah, because when you eat different diet, you know, it would be different microorganisms living on it. So yeah, it might disturb. It's a bit Alexander's question: why when you go in the country? Because it's a different diet, you're not used to it, so the microbiome is like confused.
But I mean, even if you weren't going from country to country and just changing your diet in the country, say if I went from eating all processed food to all non-processed food or less processed food.
Yeah, that would change the microbiome. Yeah, but yeah, I think like eating more healthy food, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, that would be good anyway. Microbiome should change in accordance.
The levels of acid in your stomach have something to do with how healthy if it's unhealthy, there's more acid in the stomach, something like that?
No, I mean the stomach is already very acidic.
Right.
You know? Yeah, of course, if it's too acidic, it might be a problem.
Okay. Thanks. More questions?
Yeah, I have one more.
Let's get Roman.
Yeah.
How strong is the theory that you mentioned about IQ, that people from warmer country have higher IQ?
Yeah. What was the beginning of your question?
Like, how strong is this? Is it supported by many scientists?
Well, the whole IQ thing already, I think it's kind of, I mean, does IQ really reflect your intellectual performances? That's already a question you could ask. And that was just a statistical study, right? They just reviewed the IQ from many countries and compared with the number of infectious diseases. They saw a correlation, you know. But once again, in evolutionary biology about humans, it's sometimes really hard to distinguish what is what, you know. But that's why I didn't talk much. But I don't know the number of points. Like, what's the difference between? I didn't check the number of points.
Okay.
Yeah. So, how is it possible that viruses can sort of upgrade or change their genome? Like herpes virus becomes part, and then it changes it kind of for bad. Like it makes this certain cells malfunction.
Yeah.
But is it possible that viruses can actually, I don't know, put another gene or
Yeah, we actually use that. We kind of try to take viruses, and because they do naturally change the content of your DNA in your cells, viruses.
Right.
But usually they put genes that help their reproduction, right? To help the virus reproduce and multiply. And so yeah, now we put other genes right in the virus, like good genes. And that's what's the name of that? It's anyone knows the name of that kind of field?
genetic engineering?
Yeah, it's
Right. Oh.
But it's, we don't use that much in everyday science. I mean, in medicine, it's more for studies, because it's a bit dangerous, right? We don't control the technology that much, so
But it could be possible
we can mess up.
it could be possible that the question Ethan asked, can they affect the color of your eyes or your skin or things like that? Like, can they in any way sort of change the evolution? Have they affected the evolution of human beings by just epidemics or whatever kind of viruses, just by changing our genome?
Yeah, but to come back to your question, Ethan, I guess the yellow fever makes you yellow, no? So that will change your skin. Yeah, one kind of very easy things to do with the Darwinian medicine, it's nobody's eating, it's a fecal transplant. It's like they take a bit of fecal matter and put it in your gut. So it contains like all those bacteria you want to put, and then they develop. And they use that in American hospitals to fight some diseases that are specific to those hospitals. And it works very well. Instead of using antibiotics and stuff, they just put a bit of matter with all those bacteria in the gut. Then they develop and they help fighting the disease in question. It's called the fecal transplant.
More questions? I wanted to ask, where could the field of evolutionary biology be going? What do you see in the next 5 to 10 years of evolutionary biology study?
Oh, that's a tough question. Well, there's so many things to discover.
Maybe what are you curious about?
Well, I'm kind of interested in human evolutionary biology, because it's kind of interesting, and yeah, one of the major problems is to distinguish what has been selected because of evolution and what has been, and the rest. Maybe it's random sometimes. So yeah, basically it's kind of trying to understand that mess that we are.
Are more questions? Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned in passing that the hospitals are too clean now. So that's like before people were like the rate of dying newborn kids was higher because there were too much microorganisms, bad. Then they started to clean the hospitals, so it went good. But now they're too clean, so they're going to start dying because they don't have enough microorganisms. Okay, so like imagine, like for example, in these science fiction movies, like I say Star Trek, they live in a spaceship for years. So obviously, I guess that air is sterilized. There are no bad microorganisms, and probably the good microorganisms are also killed. So can we live without them? Can we live a life without any of those microorganisms, bacteria that, what you say, like trillions bacteria?
Well, you still have some in your body, right? But then if you don't pick any, yeah, you can still be fine.
But even if they are gone?
Even if they are gone?
Yeah.
I don't think you can sterilize the human being. It would
Okay.
kill you.
Oh, okay. That was just a theory, just came to my mind.
But yeah, about the clean hospitals, of course, it's a good thing, but somehow it disrupts the microbiome and then gives disease. because it perturbs. It's not going to make you die, right? But you might have some other problems later in your life because you don't have the right microbiome. But of course, it's for the clean hospitals helps a lot about mortal infertility.
More questions? We're right at 9 o'clock right now.
No, it's 9:04.
Oh, 9:04. Well, if there are no other questions, we can wrap it up. So really, no more questions? Okay. Thank you, Pierre.